Ancient Greece. So where is Greece? Sunny Greece is 1,500 miles from England. Its capital city is Athens, and it is famous for its beautiful beaches and its sea views of the Mediterranean Sea. Here is Greece. If you look, there's Italy, there's the boot, there's France. Greece is right there on the Mediterranean. So Greece consists mainly of mountains. So with mountains, and it's a peninsula, numerous islands. The mountains and the seas are the most important geographical influences on Greece because there's not going to be a lot of widespread agriculture. So as you see, the many mountain ranges cause small independent communities to develop different ways of life. Their size and independence probably encourage political participation within and war among the different communities because, guys, they were all isolated. So you're not going to see this large-scale agriculture, but you're not going to see this unified civilization. So Greece, the ancient Greeks are going to be classical city-states, just like we talked about in the Sumer civilization and others. So they have a lot of ports. They have a lot of islands. They became great seafarers. Today they have, I think, the 4th or 5th largest merchant marine in the world. So they're still great sailors even to this day. They sailed into the Aegean Sea, into the Black Sea. They definitely sailed throughout the Mediterranean, making contact with the outside world and setting up colonies and trade throughout the whole Mediterranean area. So the Minoan Civilization, if you watch this video, it's about 8 minutes long, but it's a good little video on the Minoan Civilization. As you see, it's the Bronze Age of the Greek civilization, established on the island of Crete. Minoans sailed to southern Greece and to Egypt. It's about halfway between. Minoan civilization on Crete suffered a catastrophe around 1450 BC. Some historians believe a tidal wave caused by a volcanic eruption on the island of Thera was the cause of this. Others believe the civilization was destroyed by an invasion of mainland Greeks known as Mycenaeans. So we don't exactly know, but we do know that that volcano of Thera did erupt and it did happen. So, but we do see traces of Minoan civilization on mainland Greece, and this could be explained simply because if the volcano did erupt and you had this tidal wave, it, the Minoans that lived went to mainland Greece, the Mycenaeans. The volcano, of course, would have flooded the city, and this could be the the mystery or the mythical city of Atlantis. They also believe this could be Atlantis. Historians do. So the first Greek state, Mysia, fortified city in Greece made up of an alliance of powerful monarchies, each living in a fortified center within the large stone walls. The rest of the population lived outside of the walls, mainly for farming, peasants, things of that nature. One interesting architectural feature is the large beehive tholos tombs where they would bury the royal families. Some of them stood about 40 feet tall. Mycenaeans had a warrior culture. Their murals show the typical occupations of a warrior aristocracy, hunting, gathering, fishing, all played major roles in their civilization. They also developed an extensive commercial network. Their pottery has been found throughout the Mediterranean, and they conquered some of the Greek islands, perhaps even Crete. We just don't know. So the most famous of their supposed military adventures comes to us from a poet, from the poet Homer. And according to Homer, the Mysians sacked the city of Troy on the northeast coast of modern-day Turkey around 1250 BC. Agamemnon, who was the king of Mysia, led them. And one of his best warriors, of course, was Achilles. As you see, ever since Schillmann's excavation in 1871, Troy was seen, or Troy is known as a historical city now. So some people have believed that Homer's account is based on fact, maybe not fiction, but no one's certain. The Mycenaean states began to fight with one another, and earthquakes damaged their civilization. Guys, going back to Troy, this, if you read the story, you know Paris is Agamemnon's son, and he falls in love with Helen of Troy. I think that's, or maybe Paris is the son of the Troy king. But at any rate, it's a love story and all that good stuff. Typically, historically, it's probably a war fought over trade. It's probably a trade war. So the love story is nice and everything, but historically, it's probably a war fought over trade. And as you see, the Mycenaeans collapsed around 11 BC after new waves of invaders moved into Greece from the north. So this brings us to a period of time called the Greek Dark Ages, from 1100 to 750 BC in Greece, mainly because there are few records of this period, because the people, the Dorians who took over, they didn't have a system of writing. Both population and food production fell around 850 BC. Farming starts to revive, and the basis of a new Greek civilization began to form. Many Greeks immigrated to the west coast of modern-day Turkey, Iona. That's important for later use. So the Dorians, and it's not up here, but the Dorians come along, and actually Homer writes during this period of time. The city of Troy and the Mycenaeans, Homer writes about it about 700 years after it happens. So, as I said, iron replaced bronze during the Dark Ages, improved weaponry and farming. During the 8th century BC, the Greeks adopted the Phoenician alphabet, which made reading and writing simpler. The works of Homer, one of the world's famous poets, appeared near the end of the Dark Ages, about 700 years after the city of Troy, the story was, the event happened. The story was told for about 600-700 years. His two greatest works are the Iliad and the Odyssey. So, Thepolis became the center of Greek life around 750 BC. The polis, which means city, became the central focus of Greek life. We still use the word polis today. Think of Indianapolis; it means Indian city. Minneapolis means mini or small city. So we still use the word polis today. It was, as you see, it's a town, city, or village serving as a center of where people met for political, economic, social, and religious activities. The main gathering place was usually a hill topped with a fortified area called an acropolis. You need to know this term. It's a fortified hilltop. It's just basically a wall. This was a refuge and sometimes a place for religious or other public gatherings. Below was an agora. An agora is basically an open marketplace for people to assemble and to trade. By the way, the agora in Rome is going to be called the Forum. Same thing though. There were three classes of people: citizens, people with political rights. These were male adults. Citizens without political rights, that would be women and children, and non-citizens, that would be slaves, and that would be resident aliens. If you were born in one city-state and you moved to another city-state, you'd be a resident alien. Hoplites, these are the Greek soldiers, developed in 750 BC, or excuse me, 700 BC. As you see, they're infantry, and they carried a shield, a sword, and a spear. They fought shoulder to shoulder in a formation called the phalanx. This is a closed formation, and it made hoplites a powerful force. If you look here, this is what a phalanx would look like. So the Greek colonies between 1750 and 550, many colonies settled distant lands, or many Greeks settled distant lands. The growth of trade and wanting to grow crops were two motives: trade and farming. Each colony became a new polis and spread Greek culture and ideas. The Greeks also settled along the shores of the Black Sea, setting up cities on the what's called the Hellespont and the Bosporus. The most famous and notable city is Byzantium, which would later be changed to Constantinople and then later yet changed to Istanbul, which is its name it bears today. As you see, increased trade created new wealth class merchants, and as you see, they all want political power. So tyranny in the cities, creation of this wealthy class led to the rise of tyrants. In the Greek city-states, tyrants seized and kept power using hired soldiers. By the end of the 6th century, tyrants had fallen out of favor. The end of tyranny allowed a new class to participate in government. Some city-states became democracies ruled by many. Others became oligarchies ruled by few. Athens and Sparta show these differences very clear in their different types of government. Athens will be a direct democracy. Sparta will be an oligarchy. The reformist aristocrat Solon was appointed leader in 594 BC to handle some of these problems. In 508 BC, Cleisthenes became the leader, and he created a council of 500 to propose laws and supervise the treasury and conduct foreign affairs. Basically, the council of 500 they were kind of like the traffic cop. They were like the traffic cop of reforms or of proposed laws. They would choose which ones would get heard and which ones were not going to be heard. So very powerful committee there. It very much like if you want to think of it in our current government, it would be like the House Rules Committee and the House of Representatives, because they choose what bills will be heard and what bills are not important to be heard. So as you see, the assembly was all male citizens, and they had the final authority to vote laws in after free and open discussions. For this reason, Cleisthenes' reforms laid the foundation for the great Athenian democracy. So the Greeks came into contact with the Persian Empire to the east. The Ionian Greek cities in the western part of Asia Minor and what is today Turkey, they led an unsuccessful rebellion against the Persians in 449 BC. Darius, the Persian leader, sought revenge on the Greek city-states for supplying these insurgents with supplies. In 490 BC, the heavily outnumbered Athenians defeat the Persians at the Battle of Marathon. So the Battle of Marathon is 26.2 miles from Athens. They send, because what was going to happen is the Persians hopped on their ships and they would sail around the Greek peninsula to Athens and invade them from the west. So the Athenians, the Greeks, sent a messenger to Athens to let the citizens of Athens know that they had defeated the Persians. And this messenger had to run 26.2 miles. It was Philippides. So by 480 BC, the Athenians defeated the Persians again, becoming the leader of the Greek world. Keep in mind, the Persians, and they defeated Xerxes in the Second War. The Persians, this was not the end of their civilization. Most of these major wars we've talked about have ended a civilization if they lose, but not with the Persians. They continued to expand, and they ruled for quite some time after. We'll pick up with part 2.